So I'm very excited to be here with Heidi James. Heidi, you've recently won the Saboteur Award for Best Novella 2015 for your novella The Mesmerist's Daughter, published by Neon. And I wondered, how does it feel and how important do you think awards like this are for encouraging creative practice?
Somewhat uncoolly, actually. It feels great. I feel, it's really lovely. I think the most important part for me was that we were given as part of the prize all the feedback that had come in, so that the voting system asked for people's comments, and so it was another way of engaging with your reader and hearing firsthand how people experienced the book and what it meant to them was so important, like really touching. Yeah, so gorgeous, it's nice, award-winning author.
Yeah,
I like it, yeah.
It's fantastic and well deserved.
Yeah. I think for the Saboteur as well, it's so important because it does actually focus on independent work that isn't often given a spotlight. So Saboteur Awards and awards like those I think are incredibly important because they do make a difference, I think.
Yeah. One of the things I really love about your writing is your ability to kind of grapple with the muscles of it and express yourself in a really vivid and lyrical and honest way. Almost kind of brutal way, and you're obviously inspired and excited by language. Do you know where this love comes from, and are there other writers that have inspired this love in you, or did you find them after already feeling that you were in love with language?
Came after. It was a bit like, so my mother was very young when I was born and unmarried, which is still quite taboo, big thing in the 70s. So we lived with my grandparents and her younger sister and brother and some older sisters actually. There's loads of us. I mean, there was 5 or 6 girls in one room. So I used to squeeze in the bunk with my mum and all the sisters were around. And I remember really clearly, I was tiny, hearing the words they were saying and realising that the freight, what they were freighting, was a different message. And that being really intriguing and exciting. I taught myself to read when I was about 2.5, 3, and was avid I mean, I was obsessed with books. One time, I remember my mum finding me crouched reading through the light at the crack of the door because I wasn't allowed the light on. I was so little I couldn't turn my own light on, so I was reading, so I should have been in bed. I mean, I couldn't put the book down. And then, so as I got older, it was an escape, I suppose, but yeah, language is always thrilling, enthralling, and knowledge. Just grabbing the world, trying to not pin it down. Because one of the things I always think about is, so I don't have a lot of truck with making language as lean and clean as possible in order to reveal the fact that it's merely construct, the New Puritans. I actually think that's absurd. I think actually if you want to reveal language's absurd constructedness, it's how it fails to truly express is to push it to its limits, to make it almost baroque, and then it will totter and fail. That's how you prove languages, or that we've overinvested in reality in language, I suppose. So I just went all the way around in that question. That didn't really answer anything, did it?
That did. It's very interesting. And it in fact kind of links into my next question, really, because the subjects of your writing often, the characters often live a reality that bends common conceptions of humdrum experience, so story narratives, magical realism, a clear vision of kind of the subjective nature of the experience, that we're all of us, each experiencing things very differently, and these really fill your work. I'm thinking of Cora in Wounded, who uses the experience of pain as a way of focusing her identity, and I'm just wondering about the reasons for these preoccupations.
It's funny because I probably should, this is a terrible admission maybe, that I don't think about my work and analyse it in that same way. I don't really.
That might not be a bad thing.
Think about it. It just is how I see the world and what I think about. But you sort of picked up on the subjectiveness. I do try to find a very embodied subjectivity because I do think that there is an ethics in writing and reading that's about compassion and opening up our ideas of what it is to be a human. However, I am not an apologist in any way, shape or form of a liberal humanism that seeks to hoist humanity up by its bootstraps. I'm not aligning myself with that at all, which I think people could. But I do think that all art is about the human condition, and the more we understand others and ourselves, hopefully the better we will be. But and I think too, I'm just so fascinated by everything that I'll think about. So I'll be writing, and it may not be obviously scientific, but there will be some physics buried in, and some where I'm thinking, oh, how is that operating on our bodies now? These photons, these protons, what is that doing? And then I try and find a way to, because we're in our funny little short primate reality, and actually we're inheriting this universe of such multiplicity. It'd be great if you could write that, if you could create, a way of, but it would be exhausting.
But that curiosity, I think, is something that definitely comes out in your work. There's definitely a mind working there. It's not just emotion, but it's good you have the both, because I think that you can't really connect with work as a reader unless you get both. I don't want a book to be just an intellectual experience. And I think, but it's exciting when you see it there.
I'm reading something at the moment actually that is purely intellectual, and it's dazzling, it's witty and it's funny. But it's leaving me cold, and I'm not desperate to read it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, that's funny, that's clever.
Which I guess is that kind of dance of the language that isn't tethered to anything.
Yeah, that's precisely, it feels untethered, it's incredibly intellectual, the ideas, and yet it feels so superficial.
Yeah. Kind
it doesn't feel as though it's all style and no structure, no substance, I suppose.
Kind of related to both of the questions, the big questions I've already asked you, is I know you're also really interested in lies. I'm thinking, the Mesmerist's daughter is really all about the mother who teaches her to lie almost. It's all about lying. And I know you've also just written a short piece commissioned by Some Such Stories, which is also about lying. And some kind of people argue that, that's what fiction's all about. It's all about the art of lying. And I'm wondering, what intrigues you about lying, and do you think it's central to the ability to create fiction?
Being able to lie, being a good liar.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a tough one. You're almost admitting to being sociopathic, aren't you? Yes, I am a sociopath. I was taught to lie by my family. They were terrible liars. Most people lie because they don't like themselves, or they're afraid of their own truth, or they're afraid they won't be liked when they admit that they're not as good as, or they don't agree with, or... for me, the lie, I suppose, is an allegory or metaphor for the very constructedness of language and reality and history. My first novel, Carbon, was precisely about lies too. I am pretty obsessed now. I'm thinking about the work I'm writing, the novel I'm writing. But it is because what I might think is absolute truth won't be yours, of course. I know that's a cliche and that's obvious, but that is the world we live in all the time. These unmatching, broken, jagged pieces that we're trying to make a narrative of, a whole from, which...
Yeah, and I suppose as you create a narrative, you're choosing certain things over others, and therefore you're creating a construct which has to be in some way aligned. Yeah,
so this is where I think, when people sort of start, there's a denigration sometimes of literature and of fiction, which is ridiculous actually, and silly to be nervous that it's all going to go away and it's the death of it. No, we're storytelling creatures that will never go away, it may just change slightly, but it is a mirror. It is a mirror because it's our thoughts. And that's all we have, our thoughts, manifest on a page. It is this perfect, maybe not mirror, but parallelogram almost, or running side by side with the world we see. It's dogged. It follows us doggedly, really. It's our little pet. This weird, funny literary thing that accompanies us. I think without it, people talk about tools, making tools, and what makes us human. our opposable thumbs. Nah, language and the story.
Yeah.
It's the story.
Well, we need it in order to construct our sense of self.
Our identity,
Yeah.
memories, everything.
Completely.
Yeah.
Finally, if someone was coming to your work and they've not read anything, what would you recommend they start with? I mean, they should. Just you should. What would you recommend they start with?
Probably The Mesmerist's Daughter, in that it's short, but it's a good way in, I think. Sort of themes I'm interested in, sort of the underbelly, the darker stuff that goes on in absolute banal, humdrum situations.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.